Okay, let's just get right into this. We hear a lot from critics and historians about who invented rock and roll, but it's something else entirely to hear it straight from one of the people who was actually there, right at the beginning. So today, we're going to listen to the powerful, unfiltered story of a true legend, Little Richard, in his own words.
And this is where he starts. Bam. With this incredibly bold, defiant claim. It just cuts right to the heart of his frustration, doesn't it? This one sentence really sets the stage for everything he's about to say. He's telling us, I was the engine, but history just left me in the garage.
So yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? If he did it all, what does that even mean? What is all of it? Well, we're going to break down his answer, piece by piece, using his own testimony to build the case he felt the world never really gave him a chance to make.
So, how does he start to build this case? Well, funny enough, his story doesn't begin in America. It starts over in Europe, where he claims he played this absolutely foundational role in launching the careers of some of the biggest bands in music history. The year is 1962. And you gotta remember, this date is so important because at this point, the bands he was touring with, well, they weren't global superstars yet, not even close. He says he was the one giving them their first real shot on a major tour. I mean, just look at this list for a second. The sheer star power here is unbelievable. According to Richard, he's the one who took the Beatles and the Rolling Stones on their first big European tours. He wasn't just another act on the bill, he was the headliner. He was the one giving these future legends their break. And this really puts the whole power dynamic into focus. See, he wasn't just sharing a stage with them, he was their boss. He says he paid each of the Beatles $50 a week. That very specific, almost small amount, it just makes the whole story feel so real, you know? And then he adds this little personal detail. It wasn't just business. He paints this picture of being a mentor, almost like a guardian, who had to cover the tabs for a young, wild John Lennon. It shows this level of personal and financial investment that goes way beyond just being tour mates. Okay, so after laying all that out about the British invasion, he brings the story back home to the US. And if you thought that was incredible, just wait. The claims he makes here are, if anything, even more staggering, all centered on the unbelievable talent that came through his own band. Just take a moment to let this roster sink in. I mean, come on, that's not a band, that's a future Hall of Fame ceremony. He says James Brown, Joe Tex, Otis Redding, they were all singers for him at one point. And that Jimi Hendrix was his guitar player for 4 years. The whole point he's making is that these absolute titans of music, they were all on his payroll. So what's the point of him telling us all this? You might think it's about money, but it's not. And this is where we get to the real emotional heart of his story. This was never about cashing in. It was about something way more important to him, his legacy. And he makes it crystal clear. He says he doesn't want any money, no royalties, nothing like that. His whole desire was just for a little acknowledgement. He felt he was passing on a gift that was given to him. He says, God gave it to me and they got it from me, and all he wanted was for them to just acknowledge where that fire came from. And this, of course, leads to the central mystery of his entire story. If all this is true, if he mentored the Beatles and employed Jimi Hendrix, then why isn't his name the first one we think of when we talk about the architects of rock? Why, in his own mind, was he so completely overlooked? And this is his answer. It's a sudden, kind of puzzling, and deeply provocative thing to say. And that's where he leaves it. We're left to grapple with his final, very personal reason for why he believes his incredible contributions were never fully recognized. It really does leave you with more questions than answers, and gives you a powerful glimpse into the mind of a king who felt like he was never really given his crown.